Thanks. My name's Holly. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Holly.
Hey,
Hi,
Holly.
Holly.
Hey, Holly.
This is actually great. I started coming to this meeting, coming to this meeting a few weeks ago, and I don't know why. It was like making me so nervous to like share on an online meeting. So this was a great intro to that. I have been sober since January 23rd, 2008. And I'm super grateful for that. I always start by telling, I had a dysfunctional childhood, but I think I would have drank if I had a great childhood. I drink when things are great and I drink when things are terrible. I did have a dysfunctional childhood. I mean, I didn't want for anything, or, my parents were they also were drinkers. So I always had this feeling, and, I don't think I'm unique in this, that something wasn't right. I felt like something was missing. And I remember telling my high school boyfriend, like something's wrong with me and I don't know what it is, and I know today that is undiagnosed alcoholism, untreated alcoholism. I never felt pretty enough. I never felt smart enough. I was just, everyone I met, I had to find some reason I was better than them. Oh, she's smarter than me, but I'm prettier than her, or he's funnier than me, but, I'm, more athletic. It was just like, I couldn't just be comfortable with who I was. I was I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, like the book says. I didn't drink a lot in high school. I mean, when I drank, I drank. I had a boyfriend who told me I was an alcoholic, so I just didn't drink a lot. But sometimes we go to a party and I would like take off and like come back 5 minutes later and be like, how are you so drunk? And then I went to college, and that's when like things really, it was, my parents were not over, but they were just kind of strict. And so when I got to college, I was like, let's do this, I don't think I like slept for the first few weeks. I was really proud of the fact that I was drinking so much and partying so hard. And things hit the fan really fast for me. I know it talks about like female alcoholics become the real thing. Sorry, of course, I'm going to wake up right now. But female alcoholics become the real thing in a short period of time. And that was me for sure. I never drank normally. I always drank alcoholically. I think I was born an alcoholic. And I think that's based on alcoholic behavior. I mean, I think it's based on my behavior. I've always been dishonest. I don't remember my first drink, but I do remember my first lie. I remember I would steal my mom's cigarettes and hide them, but pretend to smoke them when I was like 3. And then I would throw them behind the dresser. And one day she moved my dresser and she was like, what are these? And I remember this. I remember thinking, I don't have to tell the truth. Like as if I had invented lying. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how those got there. So I've always been dishonest. Like I was without this program before I really started drinking heavily, I was dishonest, manipulative, like you name an alcoholic characteristic, I probably had it. So I partied through college. It took me like a month. I went to LSU, which is like a pretty big party school. And I don't say this in a bragging way. I used to say this in a bragging way. But I did get suspended from LSU for a year. And that was within I think my first month. They asked me not to come back. And my dad convinced them to let me just finish the semester. So I finished the semester. And the deal was with the dean that I wouldn't drink. Which I couldn't not drink at that point. My high school boyfriend broke up with me, and I remember thinking the only way I'm going to get through this is if I drink. And so I did. I just kept drinking. I didn't have another solution. I was broken. I felt empty, emotionally bankrupt. And then I discovered outside issues. People stopped hanging out with me. Like no one wanted to be around me. My dorm roommate requested to move. Like no one wanted anything to do with me. And I had like one friend last, it was this guy. I mean, and I try to talk badly about him, but he passed away from this disease a couple years ago. But I mean, like the way we were living was like his parents would give him $20 and he would spend like 1975 on like alcohol and other issues and then put like 25 cents of gas in his car. And my parents had like cut me off at that point. I had like a little burner phone because they were like, if you don't come home, excuse you, if you don't come home, we're going to cut your phone off and cut the credit cards off. So, I mean, I was just really, living not super well. My mom would, so then when I did want my phone back on, my mom would drug test me. So I would like hide pee all around the house in different bathrooms. Like I'd buy it and hide it. And one day I would put it in Ziploc baggies. One day I thought she was going to drug test me sooner rather than later. So I put it in a cup. And then she didn't drug test me for a few days. So it went bad. And so when she did go to drug test me, it smelled really bad. This might be TMI, but so, that was the point where my mom was like, this has to stop. Like you either have to get it together or get out of my house. And so I was like, let's talk about it later, and like ran out the door. And it was Mardi Gras. I'm from New Orleans. And so we got a hotel room downtown. And I was hanging around just some real winners at this point. I mean, I was a loser. So I mean, I have to make myself better, but no one would really wanted to be around me. I was that girl when I drank. I was never like the cool girl that drank like I thought I was, but I was the girl that was like crying on the floor, and like it was every time. So I, that night, we got a hotel room and we're partying downtown. And one of my good friends, he died from an overdose. And to tell you about the selfishness that I experienced through this disease, I called my dad and I said, I need you to come here. Pierce died. And my first thought was like, I needed him to know that like I was sober. I said like I was the designated driver, which was obviously a lie. And so, my dad showed up, and that moment of incomprehensible demoralization that they talk about in the book, that happened that night. My dad looked at me and it was like such disgust, and now that I have children, like to know what extreme that would have to be for me to look at my child with like disgust. But that was like this look in his eye, like he didn't even want to be, he was so ashamed that was his daughter. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm ready. So at this point I'd only been like, really hard on it for like, drinking for 3 months, 3 or 4 months. And I was just, I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. So I did, relapse a few days later. And that shocked me so much that something so terrible could happen and I could see someone die right in front of me and I could still go do something like that, that I was really ready. I went to treatment for 28 days. My parents, I found this like cushy rehab and I was like, this is going to be great. Like I'll just, if I need to sneak out, I can. My parents sent me to state funded rehab, which was a huge wake up call. It was rough, but it was exactly what I needed. And my plan was to stay sober for 1 year. That was it. I was going to stay sober, get my life together, and then probably drink like a normal person. And then something changed. My life got dramatically better. Started going to meetings and I started seeing people laugh. Like I wanted to laugh so badly and mean it, like that was like such a simple thing. Like I just wanted to not, if I wanted to stop drinking, I just wanted to feel not miserable and shut my head up for 5 seconds. And I found a home group. They met 7 days a week and I went every day. My parents, I didn't have a car. My parents had taken away my car, my phone. So like they dropped me off at the meeting. And then I started enjoying it, like being happy. And I got so scared I was going to drink again. One time I remember my mom didn't come home and I was like, I have to make this meeting. And I was like scrounging for like change in the couch. Cause I just needed to take a cab to get to my meeting. And like I said, like life got great. I had found peace and serenity. And then, I started taking that for granted. I I I started living. I mean, I didn't drink, thank God, but I lived dry. I would go to meetings. I just wasn't honest. I can say, like, I've lied, I've cheated, and I've stolen in sobriety, and it's awful. And I was probably like 4 or 5 years sober, and I met with a sponsor. I got a new sponsor, and I couldn't. I was like one of those, like, I either need to drink or like come clean. And so I just, told her everything. So I've been, a slow learner in this program. I was living pretty chaotically. I moved into an apartment I couldn't afford, and just did a lot of stupid stuff. I definitely, grew up a lot in this program. I came in when I was 18. So, I don't know, was it being 18? I've seen other 18-year-old sober people, act like mature human beings. So I don't know if it was just me or what, but, I found a career I liked. Once I came clean, I was able to just help other women, and want to help other women. I have all like the gifts of sobriety now, like the house and the car. I mean, the materialistic gifts, the car. But like I would say, if you would have told me someone came in, I would have been like, shut up. But I have stayed sober through some really hard stuff. I've lost a child in sobriety. And if you would have told me, like, there was like people that could like lose children in sobriety and stay sober, I would have never, ever, like, if there's a reason to drink, I would have thought like that was it. So yeah, I had a son, I was not in a good spot in the program, and I went in for a routine procedure my first pregnancy, and they told me that my son had dwarfism, and it could be like this deadly version, or it could be, he could just be short. And so I called my sponsor, and I was like, I don't, who had lost a child. And I said, I don't know how I won't drink through this. And that was my first thought, was like, if I lose him, I need to drink. And I didn't. My sponsor came and met me at the hospital, and we figured everything out. And my son's almost 3 now, and he's super healthy. He's just short. But after that, I realized, like, the importance of, no matter how great things are, I need to be in the middle of this thing. Whenever people who have gone back out come to meetings and share, I always listen, like, well, first of all, I need to know it still sucks out there. Second of all, like, what happened? Cause I don't want to do that, and all the time I hear it's like, not having that relationship with a higher power, which, it requires me to work all the steps and practice these principles in all my affairs. Which I don't always do, but I try to fix it when I realize it. So I had my second son. He was stillborn last January, and drinking it was actually my 10th sobriety birthday that he was born. And I did not think about drinking once. And so that just like it's a true testament of like what this program can do, if I'm really in the middle of it. I lost him. We came home, and my mom came in town and helped. But I remember waking up the next morning, and like, I went to a meeting. I texted all my sponsees. I was like, let's meet. When can you meet this week? Cause I know, like, when things hit the fan, I work with another woman, and I feel better, I stay sober. And so that's what I did. I just dove into this program, cause I knew I needed it. And like, just the fact that, like, when I first thought I was going to lose a child, I wanted to drink. And once I dove in this program, like, it didn't even cross my mind. I woke up and I like took care of my son, and I, sat with my husband, and it was like, I was able to, I was able to be a mom and, a wife and a friend, and and I didn't have to drink. And that was just like huge to me. And I knew like, okay, if I can stay sober through this, like as long as I'm doing this deal, I can stay sober through anything. And then, I almost lost this one too. And it's been, but it's amazing how like I don't have to drink through any of that. Right. Like that's such a gift. And I know when I drink, like, things aren't going to get better. Like I can be miserable. And as long as I don't take a drink, I still have hope. But when I drink, like, that's it. I have friends today. I'm like a functioning member of society. And it gets harder to remember what it was like before, the further out I get, from that last drink. So I do have to remember, and, my higher power has put like, people in my life. My husband's a normie. So, he has this friend from college, the one that your wife was like, oh, that guy again. But, he's been court ordered here a few times, and, I can't diagnose anyone, but it's definitely a reminder of, what I would be like without this program. And I wonder sometimes, my friend who passed away, like, why did I get it and he didn't? And I don't know, I try not to say like by the grace of God, because like, I don't know, do other people not have that grace? I just know like there's a lot of times I should have, like, I don't know how I stayed sober through a lot of the times in my sobriety, except a higher power. And I don't understand it, but, I learned early on I don't need to understand it, because when I try to like understand God and understand it, I start overthinking it. And that's the thing about this program. It's very like concrete and simple. I come in, I work the steps, I get a sponsor, I work the steps, and I come to meetings and like, do service work, which is the steps, but like, I just do the deal and then that's it. And then, I don't have to overthink it. I just do what I'm told, so that's what I've realized. But it's been a blessing. I can't believe someone like the person who walked into treatment, all those years ago, like has a family and like people who like her today. Like when I got married, I remember I just kept thinking like, wow, someone's legally binding themselves to me. Like that is nutso. Right. But I'm just like super grateful. And it felt really good to be a part of this meeting tonight and not just like sit and be weird like I've been. So thank y'all for asking me.